everybody at home. Welcome to Canberra Chordsmen live on YouTube. Another Tuesday night. I'm here with Geordie. As per usual, please write your comments in the comments bar. And if you write good questions, Geordie will read them out to me, and I'll answer them as best I can. So tonight's program is on starting the song with confidence. So this is based on a request I had from a singer in the Chordsmen who asked about wanted some tips on how to find your first note from the pitch pipe, which is a really good topic to cover. And as soon as I started thinking about it, I was like, well, there's a lot of stuff we can talk about surrounding the topic of starting the song with confidence. So not just about finding pitch, but also about finding the right rhythm before you begin. Because I've seen a lot of quartets and choruses that get off to a shaky start, and it impacts the whole performance. It's something that novice quartets have to go through. They have to figure out how to start the song with confidence. Helps if someone's got like experience leading a band or something like that. You know, they've done count-ins for their friends in a band or something like that. That really helps. But if you haven't done that kind of thing before, it can be tricky. You don't know where to start. And can't we just all start together? No, sometimes you need a count-in. We need to make sure in barbershop we need to make sure we're in the right key together. So here we go. Let's get started. Starting the song with confidence. Starting the song right can make or break a performance. When you walk in front of an audience to perform, you want to feel confident that you will start the song with the right rhythm and pitch. Here are some tips on how. Okay, here's the overview. There's basically two sections to the presentation tonight. Section 1 is finding the rhythm to start a song with confidence. Section 2, finding the pitch to start a song with confidence. And there'll be lots of demonstrations and oral examples for you to hear along the way. Alright, section 1, finding the rhythm to start a song with confidence. I'm starting with rhythm as opposed to pitch because, in a sense, rhythm comes before pitch. So it'll all come to bear. Okay, finding the tempo. Some music has a metronome mark like this. I better zoom in because I think my face is obscuring this little bit here, so hopefully you can see that now. So this is a metronome mark, which most pieces of music will have something like this. So it has like some kind of note, in this case a crotchet, equals, and then a number, in this case 80. So what that's telling you is that there are 80 crotchets per minute. So 80 crotchet beats per minute. And so what I would do, if I wanted to hear exactly what that tempo was, I can use a metronome app to hear exactly what the tempo is. So you can see this little image here is, oops, yeah, drag it into the middle a little bit more. So this is an app called Pro Metronome. I'm just going to bring up mine here. So here's my one at home. And we'll set it to 80 so we can hear exactly what 80 beats per minute sounds like. And then it ticks and the little thing goes back and forth. So now I know if I'm about to sing that song, it starts at 80. I can't remember what song that was exactly. Something with a tenor part in it. So yeah, I recommend everybody gets a metronome app. That's a good one. It's called Pro Metronome. If you're using that app, by the way, Pro Metronome, I recommend where it says TS, which is time signature, I always set it to 1/4, and the reason for that is if it's set to anything other than 1/4, say like 4/4, then you get 4 different beats, and often one of them is a different pitch. So tick tock tock tock, If you change it to 1/4, then you don't have that problem anymore. It's just the one beat all the time. And you press that, you can actually change the pitch of it. So anyway, yeah, that's pro metronome. So yeah, you're looking at your piece of music. You see that the tempo is there. Tells you how fast it needs to go. You got your metronome app. You can figure out exactly how fast that is. And I suggest it's good practice to practice songs at the approximate right tempo. So yes, sing to the metronome. I practice at home. I've been practicing Edelweiss a lot recently, and recording learning tracks. And yeah, when I practice at the correct speed, which is 100 beats per minute for that song. And so now and the reason for doing this is so that your sense of tempo for each song is well rehearsed. Because if you always practice the same song at the right tempo, then that'll be your default when you go to perform. Yeah, you ingrain the habit of singing it at the right tempo. In performance, it would be a bit odd to use a metronome, so instead, hopefully you've done some practice with the metronome at the right tempo, but instead, get the tempo in your head or body before you begin by singing it in your head and clicking along. If you start too fast, you'll notice that it's hard to sing all the words clearly, and if you sing too slow, the rests might feel too long. But yeah, before you begin a song, sing it in your head, and maybe you can click or you can tap your leg or something like that. So let's say I'm doing Hello Mary Lou. If I start a little bit too quick, pass me by one summer day, flash those big brown eyes my way. Maybe that's a little bit too fast. But if it's too slow, pass me by one summer day. That's way too slow. Pass me by one summer day, flash those big brown eyes my way. So I'm just sort of speaking or singing the song in rhythm in my head to find the approximate right tempo. Yeah, and it's really hard to be absolutely precise, but you can get close enough that it feels right in a performance situation. I just included this little thing down here. So famous bass guitarist Victor Wooten, this guy over here, says, groove before you play. So be grooving internally before you make a sound. Otherwise, the first sound you make might not be in time. That's one of the lessons that Victor Wooten teaches. He wrote a book called The Music Lesson, which I recommend for all musicians to check it out. Which he shares a lot of just really cool fundamental principles of playing music well, and that's one of them. In fact, I think that might be the first one. Groove before you play. So sometimes feeling the groove is more important than knowing the right notes, and there's an example in the book of how that is so. Let's move on. Okay, how to count the song in. Does every song need a count in? No. In fact, if you're singing a tender ballad, you probably want a moment of stillness before you begin. In such cases, watch your director or quartet lead singer closely for the first breath. So there are songs that we don't use a count in for because to have a count in would kind of destroy the mood that we're trying to create. And so in those cases, yeah, it's usually someone's going to lead the start by showing the breath, usually. For rhythm songs, yes, you probably want some kind of count in so that everybody has a sense of the right tempo before they sing. And so, question, if I just go 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Answer, sometimes, but not for every song. To do the right kind of count in, you'll need to know what beat of the bar the song starts on. So let's move on to see some examples. So there are some principles to remember when you're doing a count in, which I put here in this red box. So principles to remember. Leave a beat for the breath. So we are vocalists after all, and we need breath to make sound. So if we're starting a song that begins on beat 1 and it's in 4/4, if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, pass me by one summer day, then there was really nowhere to take a breath. So instead, I skip number 4 and I breathe with everybody at the same time. So like 1, 2, 3, pass me by one summer day. That way I get to take a breath. Even if I'm the director and I'm not singing, I still want to breathe with the group um, to show where the breath is. Um, it's quite odd if you've ever had to sing for a conductor where the conductor doesn't breathe with the choir. It's really weird. It's difficult to do. Another second principle. Occasionally, you might want to count in more than one bar to really give a sense of the tempo and rhythmic feel. So an example that springs to mind is King of the Road, where when I'm counting that one in, I usually go a 1, a 2, a 1, 2, ba bum 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 bum. So the basses are coming in on 1, 2, ba bum. It's kind of like the end of beat 3. Um, so I could just go 1, 2, ba bum bum like that, but I like to give a little bit more of a sense of the count in, so that's why I add an extra bar and I go 1, 2, 1, 2, ba bum bum. So I'm saying 1, 2, even though it's on beat 1 and 3, but I'm giving you a bit more of a sense of the rhythm by just giving an extra bar of rhythm for you to listen to. A 1, 2, a 1, 2, ba bum bum, and everyone gets in the groove much better when we give them that extra bar. And the last principle I've got here is the tone of your voice is very important. Speak with energy, add a rising inflection to your count in. Sometimes I've seen some people do count ins that were very hard, not because they were counting the wrong numbers or they were out of time, but just because of the tone of the voice, they went 1, 2, 3, and they expect you to start. And just from the tone of the voice, I'm like, when do I start? So that's why I think it's a bit of a rising inflection. A 1, 2, 3, pass me by, or whatever. 1, 2, 3, pass me by. That was a dreadful canon. A 1, 2, 3, pass me by one summer day. Something like that. But the tone of your voice is very important. That's why I try to always count in with energy and often with a rising inflection. The main thing is that you need to sound definite about, like, I'm counting in and this is where my count in ends and that's where the music begins. I'll try and demonstrate with these examples the kind of vocal tone that I would use, so vocal inflection. Alright, so let's get to an example. I Still Call Australia Home is in a fast 3/4 time and it starts on beat 1. So, I've been to cities that never close down. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I've been to cities that never close down. That might be a tad fast, but for our purposes now, that'll do. So theoretically, we could count in by saying 1, 2, 3, and then sing, right? But because we're singers, we need to leave time for a breath. So how about 1, 2, breath, sing? That could work. We could also add an extra bar to our count to give that little bit to that extra little bit of rhythmic context, like this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. I've been to cities that never close down. So here's the count in written over here on the left. So we've got a full bar, 1, 2, 3, and then 2/3 of a bar, 1, 2, and then we're leaving this third beat empty for the breath. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. I've been to cities. And so when I'm speaking the count in, you'll notice I'll probably go up in a pitch a little bit as I speak through the phrase. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. I've been, especially on the last number that I say. So on 2, I want everybody to know, oh, that's the last number he's going to say. I better breathe. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. I've been to cities. That way it's going to be super clear to everybody in the ensemble that that's the end of the count in. Now it's time to sing. Hopefully that makes sense with Still Calls Straight Home. Let's look at another example. Okay, so I just left the principles to remember still here. And now we're going to look at spoonful of sugar. So a spoonful of sugar is in cut common time, meaning each bar has 2 minimum beats. We talked about this in the Music Theory 1 presentation. So if you forget about cut common time, you can go back and look at that again. So cut common time looks like 4/4 time because yes, you can have 4 crotchets in a bar, but really the way we feel it is more like a minim and another minim. So 1, 2, 1, 2. When work has got you down, don't sit around and frown. As opposed to 1, 2, 3. When work has got you down, don't sit around and frown. So we sort of halve the number of beats or impulses. So this song also begins with an incomplete bar of 1 minim, which is half of a normal bar. Remember to leave a beat for the breath. For this song, I would click the tempo for a few bars before the count in, thus giving my fellow singers a sense of the tempo before the short 1, 2 breath count in. So in my head, I'm singing a bit of the song. When work has got you down, don't sit around and frown. There's our key. So I'd click a few times so we get that tempo and everybody's aware of the tempo. Then I'd go 1, 2. When work has got you down, don't sit around and frown. So one more time, and you'll notice that when I say the word 2, there's an upward inflection. 1, 2. When work has got you down, don't sit around and frown. So very important that you have that inflection. 1, 2. When work. Also, it's important that I breathe with the singers. If I didn't breathe, it would have a look at this. I'll do the counting, but I won't breathe. 1, 2. It just feels odd. But if the conductor breathes with you, or if it's your lead singer or whoever it is in your quartet, maybe, really helps when everybody breathes together. 1, 2. When work. Otherwise, it sounds like it's just we really respond to the cue of someone else breathing. It's like, oh, they're breathing. Time to breathe. Time to go. But if they're not breathing with you, it's like, where do I start? So that's how we count in spoonful of sugar. That's how I counted in, and I found that to work quite well. Okay, one more example before we look at something else. Coney Island Baby. So Coney Island Baby is in a fast 4/4 time, beginning with an incomplete bar of 1 count. However, the way that we and many other groups sing Coney Island Baby is with a minim as the first note, i.e. twice as long as written. Thus, the first note is really taking out beats 3 and 4 of the first bar. So it's really 1, 2, oh goodbye, oh goodbye, 3, 4, 1, oh goodbye, my Coney Island. So once we leave a beat free for the breath, we've only got 1 count left, beat 1, to do our count in, right? Who ever heard of a count in that was just 1? So that's why we added a couple more. So that's the word O. It's going to take out beat 3 and 4. That one's going to be the breath. So do I just go 1, O? That doesn't really work. 1, O, because I can't give you much of a sense of the rhythm by just saying 1. one number. So that's why, never fear, we can add more counts in front of the 1. I find it works to count 3, 4, 1, 0. So 3, 4, 1, then a breath, and then we come in on O. And remember, this is really a minim, not really a crotchet. So you probably recognize this counting. 3, 4, 1. Oh, goodbye, my Coney Island baby. And as always, the energy in your counting is super important. If I went 3, 4, 1, then we'd get a very different sounding song. So I'll try to make the counting very peppy, very energetic. 3, 4, 1. Oh, goodbye, my Coney Island baby. So that we get the right kind of vocal tone as well. It's amazing how much you can affect the vocal tone of the singers if you're a conductor just by how you do your counting. So, yes, hopefully that is clear. Those are my examples of count-ins. We're going to move on to something else now. Thoughts on snapping or clicking your fingers. So, snapping fingers can add a lot to your counting. It can be a very useful non-verbal way to communicate the tempo to your fellow singers. However, if you want to snap, here are some pointers. Firstly, hopefully, whoever is doing your counting is someone with a strong sense of rhythm. Don't snap just because you're fond of snapping. Make eye contact with your fellow singers as if to say, "This is the tempo, cats. Dig what I'm laying down." So I think that visual communication is very important, as well as the oral communication or the communication of the sound. So if I'm doing a count-in, I'm looking around at everybody. It's a check. Like, is everybody ready to go? Are we ready to sing? And everybody can see me. I'm clicking. I'm making sure everybody's kind of aware of what tempo we're going to be going at. Next, follow your snapping with the count-in, and make sure the count-in and the snapping are in the same tempo. That should go without saying, but I've seen some examples where that was not the case. So if I'm setting up the tempo, we're singing King of the Road, and we're going, setting up the tempo like this, and I go, on 1, 2, on 1, 2, bum 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 bum, and so on. So people they've had that tempo kind of in their bodies before I even start doing the counting. And so I'm looking around at everybody, making eye contact. Is everybody ready? On 1, 2, on 1, 2, bum 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 bum, and so on. I find that these little things like making eye contact and things like that are very important to a successful counting. Lastly, if you plan to continue snapping through the song, do snap on beats 2 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not cool. Hashtag friends don't let friends snap on 1 and 3. Moving on. Okay, so that was the end of the rhythm section. Now we're going to start talking about pitch, finding the pitch to start a song with confidence. Have you got any questions going through, Geordie? Nope. Obviously this is all making perfect sense. Nobody likes my my images, like the West Side Story one. This good tea. When you next come over to Geordie's place, ask him for this tea. It's good. Alright, section 2, finding the pitch to start a song with confidence. Okay, using the pitch pipe. I've got my Tombow here tonight, ready to peel forth a pitch. So, using the pitch pipe. One of the many charms of barbershop music is that we use no instruments when we perform. We are very mobile and versatile in this regard. However, we do need to make sure everyone starts off in the right key on the right notes. Otherwise, it might sound a bit shambolic. That's why we use a pitch pipe, an ultra-portable, breath-powered disc that gives us the key note of the song. So when I'm singing in the key of B flat, like for Coney Island Baby, then I would blow a B flat on the pipe. If I'm in, let's say, A flat, because I'm singing Spoonful of Sugar, that's my keynote when work has got you down. I've got to blow the right pitch. It's usually the tonic note. So the first scale degree 1, or Do in that key. Here's a couple of tips for pitch blowers and pitch listeners, which you are one or the other, or maybe both. If you are the pitch blower for your ensemble, you should give the pitch long and clear while everyone is listening for it, and have the pitch pipe ready at a moment's notice. So sometimes if we have a false start to a song, which does happen, like it happened in East Bedford that one time, then we need to hear the pitch a second time. So if you are the pitch blower and you blow the pitch, don't put it in your pocket until maybe the song has started and we're a few bars in and it's clear that we're not going to do a restart. If you are not the pitch blower and you are a pitch listener, you can help by not humming or singing your first note quietly. The reason I say this is because sometimes, well, all the time, other singers are probably trying to find their first note in their head and you may be distracting them. Yes, even if you're quiet, other people around you can hear it. So I know it's distracting for me if someone else is singing, trying to find their note, especially if they're not on the same part as me. I'm like, I'm trying to find my note in my head. Please don't hum your note, because I'm just going to go straight to your note. So do cultivate your audiation ability and your oral ability to find a note in your head. It also should go without saying, but be quiet and ready to hear the pitch. So that's just about general readiness and getting ready to make music. Okay, so finding your first note from the pitch pipe. Before a song begins, we get the key note of the song from the pitch pipe. Then find, by audiating, our first notes. This is an important oral skill. Some folks are able to do it without thinking too much about it. Other singers stress out about it and as a result can be afraid to sing their first note. Here I'll share some tips on how to find your first note from the pitch pipe. Okay, this is important. Some songs have the same first notes. Some songs start the same way. So you can cut your learning time down by identifying which songs have the same pattern of starting notes. Here are some examples for each voice part. So for the basses, I Still Call Australia Home and God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen both start on Do, scale degree 1, and the keynote for both songs is F. So the bass for Still Call Australia goes, so that's the pitch you'll hear. Actually, I better blow it on the pipe. So the basses go, I've been to cities that never close down. So you're just starting on the pitch note that we hear from the pipe. I've been, and for God Rest, if I can remember how God Rest goes. God rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. So again it starts on the F. God rest ye merry gentlemen. So handily for the basses, those two songs both start on the same note. Here's an example for the leads. So My Wild Irish Rose and Shine on Me both start with the same interval. So to me, or scale degree 5 up to 3. So I hear the key is B flat for both those songs. Bum, and leads we have to go Do, Ti, La, So, and that's our first note. Or 8, 7, 6, 5. Or Born Free, my wild Irish rose, or my ship is sailing o'er the sea. Both of those songs start with the same two notes, from F to D, or from so to me. A bunch of songs start that way. My Bonnie lies over the ocean is another example. A different key, but same two starting notes. This is for the leads. Do ti la so, born free, dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh. That's the same interval. So me, dashing through the snow. So that's another freebie for you leads. Same starting intervals. Tenors. So Edelweiss and Hello Mary Lou both start on Do to Mi, or from scale degree 1 up to 3. So Edelweiss starts like this. Oh, except my C is F'd. So I better find a C over here. Do, mi, do, mi. So in Edelweiss it goes Lou, Lou, Lou. That's the first three notes for the tenors. Lou, Lou, Lou. And in Mary Lou, it's in a different key, but it's the same scale degrees. Do, mi, pass me by, do, mi, 1, 3, 3. So that's something for the tenors to be aware of. Those two songs start the same way. Spoonful of Sugar and Wild Irish Rose both start. Oh, this is for the baritones. Both start on T to Do, or scale degree 7 up to 1. Let's do Wild Irish. So Wild Irish is. That's Do, Ti, Do, my wild Irish rose. So Ti, Do, and if we're in the key for Spoonful, we're in that key, that's Do now. Do, Ti, there's that first note. When work has got you down, Ti, Do, when work. So same pattern, different key but same pattern. This is why it's useful to know either solfa or the scale degrees, or both. Here's something interesting, which some of you probably knew. My Wild Irish Rose and Shine on Me have the same starting pitches for all 4 parts. So tenor goes, that's Do, Do, Re, Mi, Fa, starting on Fa. My wild Irish rose. And in my Shine on Me, my ship is sailing o'er the sea. Something like that. It's been a while since I've sung Shine on Me in tenor. My ship, Fa, So, or 4, 5. The lead, we talked about this before. We have So to Mi. Do, ti, la, so, so, mi, my wild, my ship. Both of those have the same pattern of pitches. Baritone, Ti to Do, you get this a lot, baritones. My wild, my ship, same notes, Ti, Do. Basses, we get this one a lot, from Re to Do. So basses, when we hear that pitch, we kind of need to transpose it down a lot of the time. So instead of that Do, it's that Do. That should, be fairly obvious to the basses. You just go, oh, it sounds a bit high if I'm up here. Let's put it down in a bass range where it's more comfortable for me. So these ones go, there's Do, Re, my wild, my ship, Re, Do. A lot of songs start with this. Re, Do, My Bonnie lies over the ocean. I think was how our arrangement went the other day. So yeah, so be aware of patterns and songs that start with the same notes. Alrighty, here I've done up a chart. I don't think it's 100% complete yet, but I ran out of time. Where I've done a chart of songs in our repertoire, alphabetically down the side here, and it continues on the next page, with other information like the pitch that we blow, the first words, always good to remember the first words, and then we've got the first notes in 3 different notation systems. So the first notes as what their pitch actually is, so whether it's an E flat or a B or whatever. Here it is again, but in solfa or solfege, which is the same thing. And here we are as numbers or scale degrees. Now, when I started barbershop, the numbers made more sense to me, and then I started using solfa a lot, so solfa makes an equal amount of sense to me now. But yeah, and so especially when you write out as numbers or solfa, you can start to see the patterns better. I'll talk more about that in a second. We have a question.
Yeah, so Peter Thomas asks, how do you do the first octave drop to get to the closest tonic? For example, C on the pitch pipe is C5. Most of us would use C4 to pitch from. Is this something that Earworthy is good for?
I'm glad. Excellent question, as always, Peter Thomas. I don't know about Earworthy being good training for that. Maybe you could train yourself to recognize pitches in different octaves, I suppose, using that app. For me, it's never been an issue to work out what octave it is, because the options are so far apart, it's usually quite obvious. So for example, if I do A flat, which I can sing 3 different A flats, but it's usually pretty obvious which one I need to go to. So that's A flat 4, I think, which is the A flat above C, middle C. I think that one, A flat 4. Or I could sing the most obvious one I would go to is this one in the middle of my range, which is A flat 3, and then in some cases I might sing the A flat 2. So I can't sing any more than 3 versions of A flat because my range doesn't go that far. So I usually intuitively know which one it is. If I'm singing bass, that's going to be my point of reference. But for all the other parts, probably around there. So A flat is the starting key for Spoonful of Sugar. When work has got you down. So that's I'm starting at around A3. The same for the lead and the same for the tenor, really. Lead when work has got you down, and the tenor, do re mi fa when work. Because I can't actually sing any higher than the A flat 4, the really high one. When work. It's just too high. I know that the tenor part's not going to be that high. Hopefully that answers that question. I mean, at this point you need to start sort of trusting how it feels in your voice and go, well, reasonably it's not going to be stratospheric or down in the basement. It's probably going to be this one in the middle. The choices, you will never have more than like three choices, really, unless you've got an extremely wide range of four or more octaves, in which case good for you. Hopefully that answers that question, Peter. Good question. Speaking of Peter, I think I stole this system from you, Peter. So, so here we've got some first notes. So let's look at the Spoonful of Sugar as an example. The tenor goes from D flat to E flat. When work, and the forward slash between the 2 notes means it's going up in pitch. When work, the leads go from B flat to C, which is from re to mi. So that's do, re, mi, when work. or from 2 to 3 in terms of numbers. When work, baritone goes from T to Do, G to A flat, when work. And the bass goes from E flat to A flat, when work. Oh no, I did that wrong. Hang on. No, that's a bad example. That's supposed to be a backslash. So if there's a backslash, like down here, that means it goes down in pitch. But I need to go correct that one because the bass one should have a backslash there instead of a forward slash. The system is not perfect in this chart, but that's the idea. A backslash means it goes down in pitch, and a forward slash means it goes up in pitch. Anyway, yeah, so Peter Thomas put together something like this, and I think I took the system and wrote it out myself. Thank you, Peter. Credit to you. So yeah, and here's some other songs from the repertoire. Occasionally I've given you like the first 4 notes for like Nowhere Man, where it goes, he's a real, he's a real, he's a real, he's a real. And everything here is spelled out in numbers as well as in solfa, and with the pitch names as well. I'll let you have a look at this for a second. Hopefully this is a useful chart to you. This will be sent out. We might see some parallels every now and again. So look, leads. Look here, it goes so to me, and it goes so to me in this song too. So that's Jingle Bells and that's Wild Irish Rose, and they both have the same interval at the start, from so up to me, or from scale degree 5 up to scale degree 3. So really, if you sort of learn your solfa and your scale degrees, that can help enormously, because you just start to see pitch patterns everywhere. You're like, oh, it's the same as this song. Even though, this is interesting, they're in different keys. So Jingle Bells is in A flat and Wild Irish Rose is in B flat. Basically, just your point of reference has changed. So A flat is your key note. B flat is your key note for this one, which is a little bit higher up. So all the notes shift up an equal amount. So your pitch note, which is Do in the scale, is your point of reference. Everything kind of hangs around that. That's why we always blow the Do, like the key of the song, as on the pitch pipe, because it's the most useful note for everybody to work out what your starting notes are from that. Sometimes you get to start on the tonic, like in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, both the baritone and the bass starting on there. So Rudolph or Rudolph. All right, if there's no more questions on that, I'm going to move on. I've come to my final slide. So, practice recommendations. So I would recommend practicing your major scale and the intervals within it. So most of the simple intervals, so like from Do up to everything, like I do a bit of practice like this every day. If B flat is my root note, and I'll go Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do, and then do exercise like Do, Re, Do, Mi, Do, Fa, Do, So, Do, La, Do, Ti, Do, 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 Ti, Do, La, Do, So, Do, Fa, Do, Mi, Do, Re, Do, Do, and do a little exercise like that, so you start to really know your way around the scale. And maybe write out, if you can figure it out, work out the solfa for one of the part in one of your songs. So if you're singing My Wild Irish Rose, Re, Do, So, So, Do, So, and practice something in solfa, and then you start to recognize those pitch patterns even more. Practice tip number 2 is get familiar with the start of each song in the repertoire. Listen to just the beginning of the learning track. So the pitch, when you hear the pitch at the start of the track, and then the first few words, listen just to that much many times over to develop your pitch memory. Because then when it comes to the performance, you hear that pitch on the pitch pipe and you go, oh, do, that's my first note. Or 1, 2, 3, my first note is round about there. Da 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 da, and so on. Practice common starting intervals, i.e., basses want to be very familiar with re, do, and so, do, as I was doing before. So, re, do, my wild, oh, shine, or my ship. Lots of songs start with that. And 5 to 1 is pretty common as well. When work. So there's common ones for all the parts. Baritones get a lot of ti do. Tenors get a lot of fa do re mi fa so, or fa mi fa so. Those are very common ways to start the song for tenors. Finally, mark your sheet music. Identify what notes each song starts on. You'll soon find examples in other songs or even repetitions of pitch patterns in the same song. Lots of times in Spoonful of Sugar, we go, job that must be done, job that must be done. So do, do, fa, do, and that pattern happens a few times. A robin feathering his nest. So you start to hear the same patterns over and over again. And if you label them and go, okay, that's do to fa, then suddenly you've got handles on that thing and you can go, oh, I've heard it in this song too, and I've heard it in that song. You just start to see the pitch patterns everywhere. It really opens doors, and it makes memorizing songs much more easy because I've seen this before in this other song. I like to think of it as like seeing the Matrix. So you've seen in the Matrix movies when Neo is finally able to see the Matrix, he just sees everything as green code, and he can kind of like master everything at that stage. I think it's kind of the same thing when you start to think in terms of scale degrees or solfa. It's the same kind of thing. You just see the pitch patterns everywhere. The words are incidental. The words change every song, but the pitch patterns are very common, very recurring, and you master those, you've mastered most songs. Another question.
Yeah, so Frank wants to know, why do we have a low do and a high do? Why didn't they choose a unique name?
Well, they did, because they've got a unique name for every note. That's A flat 2, that's A2, that's B flat 2, that's B2, that's C3, that's C sharp 4. Yeah, they've got a unique name for every note. But the solfa system is, it just names all the notes within one octave, and then you just can use that as you go up or down. And solfa's the main benefit of solfa is for pitch relationships, because from re to do is always going to be a tone. From do to mi is always going to be a third. From do to fa is always going to be a fourth. That's where the value of using solfa or scale degrees like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 comes in. It's because you don't have to memorize 100,000 different names. You only have to memorize 7 plus the non-diatonic notes as well. That's a good question. That's a very good question. Any other good questions? Jordy's shaking his head. Nope. Any hilarious comments that we could? No, it's very dry tonight.
Yeah, where's Troy?
All right. Well, maybe if you want me to clarify anything, just tell me in the next 30 seconds or so. Otherwise, we're probably going to wrap up in just a second. I will send out this chart. Well, I'll send out this whole PDF. I might fix up those little errors that I spotted in spoonful of sugar. Um, but yeah, this chart should be of use to folks. Um, yeah, if you're really at sea when we're talking about music theory and scale degrees and whatnot, then still this one still applies. You can use your learning tracks and just listen to the beginning bit over and over again, because it'll give you the pitch and then the starting note. And so just through sheer repetition, you can get used to how it sounds, like hearing that first pitch and then finding your first note. I've been to cities that never close down. I've been to cities, and so on. You just get used to that repetition. A lot of like seasoned singers, they can just pick keys out of the air and go, oh, this is approximately the right key, because it feels right on your voice. If you've sung the song 1,000 times and you go, oh, this feels about right, and then maybe after a couple of bars you go, oh no, it's a little bit high. We need to key it down a little bit. People who like to do woodshedding do that sometimes. They just don't need a pitch pipe. Just figure out a key. If it's too high, we'll put it down a bit. If it's too low, we'll put it up a bit. They just do that.
Just muscle memory.
Just muscle memory. Yeah.
I like doing that.
Yeah, I find my muscle memory kicks in with songs that I've sung a lot. Like I mentioned the other week, I sing this from my warm-up every day. Re, do, so, fa, fa, do, do, do. And even without getting the pitch, I can usually be within a semitone or so. And even if it's a semitone out, I can usually tell, like, oh, this feels a little bit too low or a little bit too high. Because I've sung it that many times, it just has worn some grooves in my vocal folds or something like that. Alright, any more questions coming through? Nope? Okay, we're going to end it there, folks. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again next week. The plan next week is to do just intonation, which is going to be real fun. I'm going to have lots of good examples to listen to. So I hope to see you tune in for that. Alright, catch you later.